The first thing I'm going to ask you today, the event Gather At, your company, and you're having a big part in putting this event on. One of the biggest things that's always stood out to me since knowing you as far as networking goes is you're huge on relationships and connecting with people. How important have relationships been to your success, and just any successful person today, how important really are relationships to the success of someone?
That's a great question. I think we have to get back to this idea around humanity. At the end of the day, we're all people, and we generally want the same things for ourselves and for those that we love. And so I'm reminded of one thing, which is my best friends were once strangers. And so I always think about how am I cultivating relationships? How am I building bridges, not barriers, with people? And being here at Greenhouse, being the chief people officer, I get to do that not only for our company, but I get to do that for all of the communities and where people live, and also for our 7,000 clients that use Greenhouse to hire people. So, man, I take it as a huge responsibility, but it's something I love doing and I love to live up to.
So my next question for you is, you've worked in human capital, you work with a lot of people. When it comes to team building, what do you look for when establishing a team around yourself, or when bringing a team together for a company? What are the most important traits that you look for when building a team?
Values, principles. What are their default habits and behaviors? Are they kind to people? Do they look people in the eye? Are they respectful? Those are the things I think are more leading indicators of the things that are more lagging, which is how are they going to perform? Are they highly collaborative? Do they work well in teams? The other thing is, my team knows this, I only hire Belgian horses. And the idea behind Belgian horses is, if you look at a Belgian horse, it's not the fastest horse known to man, it is the strongest. And they typically can pull anywhere between 12,000 and 14 pounds individually. But when you yoke a Belgian horse with another Belgian horse, they don't pull just 24 or 26 or 28,000 pounds. They actually pull close to 36,000 pounds. And the reason why is the Belgian horse is willing to overexert itself to teach the other one that they're setting the pace. And so the reason I try to hire Belgian horses is this idea that what would our impact be, or what would our bandwidth be? What is the kind of change that we can create if you have that many thought leaders on the same team?
Wow.
And that type of pace is some people will be oh, that's not sustainable. It is if you're a Belgian horse. And so I try to look for those type of traits in people that I bring to the team.
I love that. That was a banger right there. You got to have the Belgian horses around you at all times.
Yes, sir.
But for someone, who's coming out of college, what is your best piece of advice to someone starting out in the real world today?
Build relationships. That's the greatest thing. You don't have to have a resume to build a relationship. You don't have to be born in an affluent neighborhood or have parents that have these multi-million-dollar jobs. If you try to build bridges with people, one person at a time, I promise you, over time, the compound interest on that type of an investment is powerful. And it's the reason why I hang out with you and your brother, right? It's I see what you all are doing out here in Austin. I see what you're doing and curating different content in the space. And I'm happy to be a part of it. I'm happy to amplify that because you're building relationships with people. What most people may say are strangers, right? Pretty powerful, man. My hat's off to you. Every time I pull up to this city, I'm gonna look for you. I'm gonna always tell you and your brother that.
We appreciate that. We love that.
Yes.
Another question. You have climbed and you've worked your way up to the top of companies as being an executive. What has been the number one driving factor of success throughout your lifetime?
That's a great one. This has actually changed for me. I'll make sure I try not to get emotional. My mother instilled some of the most powerful values and principles in me around how you treat others. And for a while, as the eldest, I wanted to make sure I gave that illustration to my siblings. What has shifted for me is being a father. And so when it comes to being Dalen's dad, I want him to see me living out those values and those behaviors. I want him to see my default habits and the way that I treat others be reflective, not just in my personal life, but in the way that I do business. And so when he bumps into people that I work with, or he bumps into clients that I work with, it's a joy for me when he hears from them how I've treated them. That's my motivating factor, is I want to be able to be somebody that Dalen's proud of.
It's amazing. I love that.
Yeah, man.
And next question for you, but from what you've seen throughout your career, whether it's, a skill set to possess when going out into the real world, or an attribute to, have, and for younger people today especially, how can someone become financially free in today's world?
Save more than you spend, and always look for ways to get a greater return